I would argue that the most important thing you can do to grow your clinic from both a marketing perspective and a conversion and office perspective is not posting more on Instagram. It's not your website. It's not running paid ads. It's actually your messaging. The words that we are actually saying online and in office have a direct correlation with how people trust us, feel seen, and feel heard, and ultimately will take action. So we've talked about messaging before, but today we're going to outline a real easy to implement framework that you can start using both to get more awareness and leads online and help those that come into your office see you as a valued partner in their health journey and ultimately convert to care. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to The Expanded Life. We are excited today to be talking about this framework because it really is the thing that links your marketing, that links your conversions, that links your retention. It is the reason people feel called to come to you in the first place and feel compelled to stay with you in the long run. I mean, it just really helps to clarify the way we should be talking about what we do and organize the way that we talk about what we do. Because if you're a service provider, you are likely obsessed with the thing that you do. You're obsessed with the people that you serve. But sometimes when people ask you, like, what do you do? Why does it help? How come it, is right for me? You have like 5 million things that you want to say and ultimately don't say any of them super well. And so it kind of gets lost in translation. And so we want to package this up for you today in a way that you can apply not just to your marketing, but also in office. If your conversion is lower than you want it to be, if people aren't sticking around, try implementing this framework in the conversations you have and the scripts that you use and see if maybe things bump up a little bit.
It's so easy for us online to just talk about our offer, talk about chiropractic. And, we have to think about where people are at in their awareness or understanding of our solution, of their problem, of the misconceptions they have, of ultimately their goals and what they're looking to achieve. And maybe they don't even know, right? I'm honestly fascinated with kind of the marketing psychology of like, why do we watch the videos that we watch? Why do we click through the ones that we don't? Why did I swipe that? That's seemingly something I should be interested in, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't trust that person. And we have to think in terms of, I think, variety, but then it can kind of get overwhelming. And what I mean by variety is like, how can we approach the same problem through different lenses? How can we come at it from different angles? Right? So we're not saying the same thing. Ultimately, we're selling chiropractic or whatever the service is, right? But we can't just say, it's awesome, come in, I help with back pain, right? We have to think about different angles, different people at different stages where, maybe their problem is a little unique or they need to hear this type of messaging in order to take that action. And so what I've been working on and refining is like, how can we make this really simple while hitting all of the different steps? And part of my thought process with putting this together with the help of Claude, of course, and this is a Claude skill that we're able to help install into your business inside of our community, but really factoring in the awareness stages. I think his name was Eugene Schwartz, and he was some old school marketing psychologist or marketing guy back in the day. But he's the one that really kind of coined the awareness stages. So some people are at different, parts of the funnel. The top, unaware, I don't even know I have a problem. I'm unaware of anything. That's the awareness stage. The next level down would be problem aware. I'm aware that my baby is not pooping. I don't know what to do about it. From there is solution aware. Okay, I could go to the pediatrician. I could go to a chiropractor. I could give them a laxative. I could try massages. Those are all different solutions. From there, we have product aware. Okay, I now know more about chiropractic for babies, And I'm understanding how it's different and the nervous system and, all of that entails. And then most aware would be I know Verve Chiropractic and Dr. Danielle. I know their philosophy. I know the frequency. I know the pricing. I have all of that. So we have to kind of factor that in, that our market, when we're talking online, they're all at different stages at different times.
Even when they come into our practice.
Even when they come in, exactly, right? So it's very different day one when someone comes in and is like fully educated, bought in, I know this works, I'm super into it, versus someone who's like, I saw you have a new patient special and I'm here to get more information. I'm not sure if this is right for me.
Are you going to crack my baby?
Yeah, you can crack my baby's neck. And so we have to help create messaging online and in office and meet people where they're at. If we come at it from one angle, we're just steamrolling and ignoring arguably 95% of our market. And so the method that I've kind of crafted is called the Prime method. Prime is, I don't know, maybe we shop too much on Amazon that, Prime came up with this. Also, Claude helped me refine like a easy, catchy to remember acronym, but this really hits on different points. The P in Prime is problem. So we want to call out specific problems that our avatar is experiencing, right? We want to label it, help them understand if they're unaware that, oh, maybe they do actually have a problem, right? That needs addressing. The R is reframe. So this is a misconception. I think chiropractic is for adults. I have a limiting belief, whatever that belief architecture is that we want to try to attack. I want to help reframe them and help them understand that, no, this is actually a nervous system issue, not a digestive issue, right? Going back to the baby constipation example. The I stands for identity. So much of what we do from a psychological perspective is centered around identity, the ego. We see this very commonly in Verve, where it's like the mom guilt, the should. I know we've had a lot of conversations from your own experience and perspective as a mom of like, I feel like I should be doing this, but I'm struggling with this, whatever. So,
and on the flip side of that, that's why our follower ad works. You are a holistic minded mom in Orange County, right? You are a crunchy mom. It's that identity. It's like what people connect to as kind of the definition of who they are and what they stand for.
Yeah, it's very powerful, right? So the identity. The M stands for mechanism. And this is probably where most clinic owners live is in M. You still need that, but again, it's one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
But I think you can also come at the mechanism from a different way of like, this is the missing piece, not technical jargon. Here's how we're going to move your atlas or what. It's like, who gives a shit? But here's why massage is not working or temporarily works. Here's why the laxatives are not working or not in alignment or whatever, so here's the mechanism that we use, the program that we have specifically designed for kiddos like yours.
And why it's better than everything else.
Why it's better, why it's different. Exactly. And then the last, the E, is the end result. What is the dream outcome that people want? This is easy to create when you start the sentence with the word imagine. Imagine a world where if I could wave my magic wand, what does life look like with this pain gone, right? Well, little Timmy is able to sleep. I'm less stressed. I'm able to sleep. And so we're able to kind of paint that reality and picture of what life looks like on the other side of solving this problem. And so I think for today's episode, we wanted to kind of workshop now understanding the framework, but really kind of dive into your brain of not just, we talk a lot about talking online and like messaging from a lead generation perspective. How do you use this framework when someone is at the table? Day one, day two, inevitably we're working people still through this reframe. Here's the mechanism. You're hitting all these points, but what is your talk track as you're actually having these conversations in office?
So I need to be able to understand the depth of her problems so that I can pull those out and help her feel emotionally connected to what's going on, right? Because so many people come into our businesses and they have surface level understandings. We talk about, right, the awareness stages. So somebody might come in and be like, yeah, somebody said that, my baby should be pooping more than once a week, but my pediatrician said once a week is fine. So like they're not even quite aware of the problem. Like they're starting to be aware of it, but they don't realize how deep it is. And it's like, okay, well, is your baby turning red and straining every time they have a bowel movement? A bowel movement. Well, yeah. I imagine it's really hard to watch your baby be uncomfortable and in pain when they're, passing stool. And, do you have to give your baby warm baths or comfort them or soothe them? Is your baby able to sleep, or are they waking up with gas pain? So it's like you're calling out these problems that they don't even sometimes realize are problems, or that are connected to the thing that they came in with in the first place. It's like when we're talking about that same postpartum mom with low back pain, it's like, well, what does sleep look like? How are you sleeping? She's like, oh, well, I roll over in bed and I feel this kind of catch and it wakes me up. And, it's really frustrating because as soon as I get my baby to sleep, we finish nursing or whatever, then I'm just about to fall asleep and this pain wakes me up again. And it's like, wow, that really sucks. And so it's like, yeah, she feels a low back pain at night, but maybe she's not realizing how connected all of this is. Well, if you're not sleeping at night, how are you feeling during the day? Pain aside, are you getting through your day pretty good with energy? Or are you feeling drained? Are you feeling super stressed? Are you, react? And a lot of times you guys know this, you're in practice. People are going to come and be like, yeah, I'm irritable. I'm grumpy. I'm not sleeping well. I'm in pain all the time and it sucks. And it's like, I imagine that's really hard, not just navigating being a new parent with your partner, but now being a new parent in pain who's not sleeping with your partner. Yeah, we're snapping at each other all the time. Well, do you think that if you weren't having low back pain that you'd be able to sleep a little better and that maybe would impact your mood during the day? Well, yeah, definitely. And so it's like you start to turn on these light bulbs when you truly understand their problem. And then when we're talking about identity, right? I think identity goes so deep with who people want to be.
Did you hit reframe?
So the next letter, right, is R, is reframe. And Kyle, help me understand what reframe is again. We're reframing which part of the problem?
We're meeting people where they're at. They have a misconception.
Yes. Okay.
So I feel like you always came up against this when people had started care, and then you'd be like, they'd come in after a couple visits. How are you feeling? Like how's your neck pain? And they'd be like, oh, it's gone. I got a massage yesterday. That must be why. And you'd be like, I hate you.
I know you've been in consistent chiropractic care twice a week for the last 3 weeks, but no, it's the one massage, even though you've had 17 massages before this. Or no, the best is like, oh yeah, when I'm driving, I'm really, not looking over my shoulder as much when I talk to my kids. So it must be that. Or, oh yeah, no, I switched pillows with my husband last night. It must be that. I'm like, the one night of different sleep on a different pillow. Cool. Cool.
But I think it's an example of, I don't know, people forget or they don't realize or they're not consciously aware. And so you have to help them reframe.
Absolutely. And I think that what you're talking about is kind of the retention component, right? Them understanding the impact of what you're doing over time and continuing to see the value in what we're doing here, right? Understanding the value of what's happening to them from this thing, because people do forget. But I think when we're in that day 1, day 2 process, the most important thing is understanding why what they're going through is happening. Because so many, like, let's take this postpartum mom, for example, again. So many moms will come in and they're like, yeah, well, I didn't work out during pregnancy and I haven't worked out since I had the baby. And so I think my low back hurts just because my core is weak. It's like, yeah. Or they say, I think my back is tight because of this one thing, right? The way that I'm sleeping it's like the one thing. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But let me help you understand the nervous system and how it works, right? Because they're thinking of the muscle. They're thinking of the core musculature. They're thinking of one area. And if that area is the thing, then if it's the core, then doing core exercises is going to be the solution, right? If it's the muscles, then massage is going to be the solution. And a lot of times these moms have come in and they've tried these other things. And so it's like, okay, well, let's dig into that a little bit, right? Because if it was the core, then the rehab exercises that you have been doing should have fixed it, right? Or if it was the muscles, the massages you're getting should have fixed it, right? Let me explain a little bit more about the nervous system and why this matters with what you're going through. right? And so it's that reframe that there's something they're not seeing yet that could be contributing to the discomfort, the pain, whatever it is, the symptom that they're feeling that brought them in the first place. And then we talk about the 3 T's in our office, right? Thoughts, traumas, toxins. These are the 3 types of stressors that can impact the nervous system. So, yeah, not exercising your core, that's a type of trauma, we'll call it a physical stressor. The lack of exercise, the weakness that ensues. If we, are sleeping funny because we're nursing our baby in bed and we're in this weird position, that absolutely can impact the nervous system. But the reason that we're not necessarily seeing exercise or massage fix it is because we aren't creating that neurological change that allows that kind of shift to happen where you're having, reduced low back pain. What's really cool though is if we start doing adjustments, we stimulate nerves that talk to your brain. Your brain then becomes more aware from a sensory perspective and can create better output to those muscles. And guess what? Now those muscles are going to engage more and turn on more and respond better to that massage that you're getting. So not only are we going to have a mechanism with our chiropractic adjustment that reduces pain just with the adjustment, but we're also going to help your exercises work better and your massages create more relief. And so all of a sudden, we're not putting massage or exercise down, but we're helping her understand why those things aren't working and how our thing is going to be the solution, the glue that brings it all together.
Well said. I love that.
Okay.
Now is identity.
Now let's get into identity. So prime, P-R-I, identity. Identity is who this person is at their core or who they want to be, who they identify as, who they want to identify as. The example I used earlier was the crunchy mom in Orange County, right? The holistic minded mom in Orange County. If I identify as somebody who takes care of my body, who's proactive about my health, who is a good mom, who shows up for her kids, then I'm going to do anything in my power to find a solution so that I can show up better for my kids. And I'm going to do it in a way that's not just Advil and surgery. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about identity, I think there's 2 parts to it. I think there is who do I want to be? And so how does the solution align with that? The 2 parts of identity are like the value-driven identity and then also who I am and who I show up as in the world, right? And so values, if we're talking about that crunchy holistic mom, are I do things that are not drugs, medicine, surgery, right? And then the who I am, who I show up in the world as is a good mom who plays with her kids, who isn't too tired at the end of the day, right? And so if I'm starting to drift into this place where I have this low back pain that's impacting my ability to work, my ability to cook, my ability to show up and play with my kids, and I'm starting to take Advil or Tylenol because there's no other way to get relief and still show up, well, I'm starting to have dissonance in my identity. Right. And so that's something that I want to start kind of leaning into. And a lot of times you'll find this if you're doing a day 1 or a day 2 with a patient or day 1, and you're asking them about what they've tried. It's like, oh yeah, and when it gets really bad, I have to take Advil and I hate taking medicine. But it's like she has this like guilt and shame almost about it. She doesn't identify as a person who has to do that. And so she's here. She's like, let's lean into that. Let's help her find a different solution so that her identity can align with her values. Right. So she can show up in a way that aligns with her values. And then the other side of it, it's like, well, I'm not able to play with my kids and it sucks. I get home and I've given everything to my patients and my back hurts and all I want to do is lay on the couch or lay in bed. And my kids over here, let's use Rusty as the example. My 4-year-old is like, let's wrestle, let's play, let's make a fort, let's do this. And I'm like, I can't, buddy. I can't. I'm sorry. And maybe I'm not even that nice because I'm in pain and I'm hurting and I snap at him. He's just being 4. He's just playing. And so now all of a sudden, I'm not just having to take the Advil to get through the day. I'm snapping at my kid. I'm not playing with him the way that I want to. I'm not showing up in the way that I want to or I think I should be because I identify as this good mom, as this present mom, as this active mom. And so my pain point from before, my problem, is starting to impact who I see myself as a person. And when you can really identify the parts of her identity that are feeling that dissonance, that where she's not able to show up or he's not able to show up the way that they want to in the world, that's when you're really going to help them be able to create change and understand how your solution can get them to the end result, which we'll get to here in a minute.
But I think you can, and I love that example, and I think you can label that or use labels as you're chatting with someone in office of be like, you seem like the type of mom who, right? You remind me of another mom who was also very holistic minded, also identified as crunchy, and we can use some of the words that they use. And, again, I think it kind of goes back to labels. These are labels they put on themselves in terms of how they define their identity and their values. And I think it's okay for us to use the words that they use, right? In marketing or ads, we are calling out those labels and identity and, those definitions, those values. And I think it's okay to continue doing that in office as well when you're needed be.
And I think that's the point of all of this, right? In this framework, it's you need to know the depth of each of these areas, right? If we're talking about this avatar, this person who's sitting in front of us in office or that we're trying to talk to online, what do they identify as? Who do they identify as? How deep can we go in this so when we are using that language, we can speak directly to them, to their soul in the way that they would talk to themselves or to others about themselves? And I think that's how you create that fast connection. You're able to go deep and they feel heard and understood when you understand these things about them. And so that's what we're talking about here. And at the end of the day, you are still a professional. You still have authority in the thing it is that you do, the mechanism, right? And so when I'm talking to somebody about chiropractic, we can go back a little bit to the reframe, right? Sometimes the mechanism and the reframe are existing at the same time. I love educating people about the nervous system. Am I going to lead with that? No, because it's nerdy and I see people's eyes kind of glaze over and gloss over. You need to use it in a way that you're going to be able to connect them to understand how your thing helps them. Nobody gives a shit about you going in depth about all, like right now I'm learning about peptides, right? And I am learning all the mechanisms, the pathways, like metabolic functions and impacts. And Kyle, I can see his
using your smart words again.
Yeah. If I'm talking about like
metabolic pathways,
thymosin alpha 1, you're saying? Like, shut up. How does it help me? Right. And so I think that's the point. Instead of talking about the nervous system from like, we have, mechanoreceptors and proprioceptors. And when we have, vibration, it stimulates the blah, blah, blah. And you have cortical activation, right? I can nerd out about that all day. But what people want to know is when I do an adjustment, it stimulates a nerve ending in your body. That nerve ending sends an impulse up to your brain. Your brain all of a sudden gets more information about the environment. What's really cool is when your brain has better information about the environment, it can send better signals back out. So now all of a sudden, your master control center, your brain is telling your digestive system, your low back muscles, all of the parts of your body how to do their jobs better. So we have less pain. So we have better digestion. So we have whatever the function is that we want to help this person improve. We are connecting the mechanism with their why. We are making it about them, but helping them understand why this works in the first place. I can't tell you how many people early in practice came into my office and they're like, wow, I've been going to chiropractors for 20 years, for 10 years, for however long, and I never understood why. You explain this in a way that just makes so much sense. Like, why doesn't everybody get adjusted? And it's like, yes, exactly. So when you can explain the mechanism, you don't just help convert somebody from problem aware or maybe solution aware to most aware. You help retain them for life because they get it. They're not just understanding how this helps with low back pain. They're also understanding how this helps with their kids' allergies, how this helps them stay well in sick season. It's like we really get to permeate and shift their internal beliefs when they understand the mechanism in a way that is about them and impacts them.
It's so timely too, because I just coached one of our newest doc. Yesterday, we had a 2-hour kind of role play session, just her and I. And again, I'm not medically trained. I'm not a chiropractor. I don't know metabolic pathways or proprio, whatever. I am like the average Joe coming in off the internet or, wherever else and saying, I have a problem and I don't know what to do. And maybe I don't know anything about chiropractic. And so as she was going through the day 2 kind of conversation of the nervous system scans and this and that, one, she was using jargon that was way too, I think, advanced, over my head. 2, was being very technical about the mechanism. And the part that she was missing, the biggest feedback I gave her was, what's in it for me? I don't care about if I scored a 77 on the HRV scan and I should be at 100. What does that mean? What does life look like for me? How is that different from where I'm at now? I have no context and I have no understanding of what this translates to my problem, which is the sole reason I'm in here in the first place. And so we have to always remember what's in it for me, that kind of framework or phrase, which is very common in any kind of marketing or sales aspect. We have to tie it back. We have to give context and then tie it back always to their particular problem or the patient in front of us.
Yeah, I love that as an example. And I want to just like double click into that even a little bit further. HRV, right? A lot of chiropractors probably know what that means. If you wear an Aura ring or a Whoop, like you know HRV, heart rate variability. I can go into semantics. I can talk about the number on that chart. I can talk about the interval between your heartbeats. I can talk about, your sympathetic nervous system. I can go as nerdy as you want down that way. But if I just say, hey, Kyle, your HRV is low, what that means is that your body is not responding well to the stressors that are happening. And listen, I know that you're running multiple companies. I know that you are a hands-on dad, and it's really important for you to be able to play with your kids even after a really busy work day. And listen, I don't want to put you in a bubble. That's not the point. The point is not to reduce our stress to the point or to a place where we have no stress and so all of a sudden we're healthy. No, the point is to get your HRV up to help your body and your nervous system be more resilient. And that's what chiropractic care does. We get that HRV up so that you can go crush it at work and then you can go home and be the dad that you want to be.
Mic fucking drop. This is why this is exactly what I think a lot of clinic owners struggle with. It's the bringing it back full circle. You hit, I think, almost every point of the prime method within that 1 to 2, not even 2 minute, 1 minute spiel, right? But it succinctly helped me understand the problem, the identity that you called out, the reframe, and ultimately the mechanism to be able to come back and tie it back without getting into the nitty gritty, the technical, and the end result. You also painted a picture, which is a good segue into the E.
Exactly. And I think that this is a really big area that a lot of doctors miss on their day one or their initial intake with people. We get so hyper focused, and if you're not a doctor, I apologize. But if you are a doctor, OPP, QRST, right? We're getting into all of these like details about a person's condition and about what time of day it is bothering them the most. So we can understand if maybe it's bothering them in the morning when it's cold, then it's probably arthritis. And, it's like, yes, we all went through that same process in school and learned that level of detail. But like, do that part, right? You know how to be a doctor. So like, be the doctor. And also the point of a day one aside from that, like, again, nobody's saying that you shouldn't do that. The point is to connect with somebody and to understand why the fuck they're here in the first place. And most people are here because they want their life to be better, right? But most people don't know that on a conscious level, or they're not willing to admit it because, again, people don't want to be sold to. So if they give you the jewel of like what they're hoping to get, then you have power and you can sell to them. So some people might hold on to it, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. Okay, but your job is to help them understand or help them identify what they are trying to get out of this. And for that person, right, the guy comes in and he's like, yeah, I've got low back pain and, or I'm really tired all the time and it's frustrating because this and this and this. And it's like, got it. Okay. So like, let's say that you had no low back pain. You wake up feeling fresh for the day. Like, how would life be different? And he's like, if he hasn't thought about it, it's going to prompt him to think about it. Sometimes you have to pull a little bit more with certain people. But again, like we want to connect with people and help them connect with their why. Just like we would talk to you, clinic owners and ask you, why are you trying to be successful in the first place? Why do you want to get your collections up? What's the fucking point? Because if you don't have a why, then when things get hard, you're going to stop trying. If I can't help this dad understand why he's doing this in the first place, then when the appointments get a little bit inconvenient, when he doesn't want to do his stretches at home, he's going to give up, right? And so it's like we really have to dig sometimes and help people understand. And again, you can pick up these clues when you're in a day one and a day two, right? And if we understand these people in our practice, then we can take those clues they've given us and we can apply it in our marketing and our messaging and, call people out. It's like in our ads, like, hey, you're a high achieving dad who, loves being present with his kids, but every time you go to pick them up, your back, gives out and you're worried about what that means for the future.
What's happening is right?
Right.
This reframe. So there's the reframe.
Yep.
Here's why other things aren't working.
Yep.
And chiropractic helps get you back to doing the things that you love and result dream outcome, dream outcome. So you're able to use all of that in that example, which is awesome. So yeah, I think the end result is the flip side. We talk a lot about the problem and the impact, and it's negative in the depths of how shitty maybe life is currently. But we do have to flip it and say, when we solve this, and yeah, that's the North Star that we're all aiming for and the goals that the patient has. And that's what I think shifts from your, a vendor that I come get this service from to you're a strategic partner in my health journey.
Creating a transformation.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a big shift. And those are the patients where you feel like you have this transactional relationship and they come for 6 or 10 visits and that's it, if that. And, versus the ones who get more of their family under care. They are on wellness. They keep buying more packages. They keep referring their friends and family. Those are your legacy lifetime patients. It's like, what changed with them versus these people that were skeptical to begin with? Maybe the Fab Five, they didn't hit all the 5 filters, right? They were never going to, or always have a tough time kind of converting or retaining. But then also our talk track, our messaging in office, how are we helping connect the dots for them consistently so that they finally have that aha moment? Why has no one ever explained this to me so succinctly and it's personalized to me, right?
And I think the more you can use this messaging from the top of the funnel all the way down, right? Like let's use social, for example, or they see our ad, they come to our social, they get nurtured first with our content, they're consuming it. Maybe they get in our DMs. We help to nurture them in the DMs. They finally book the appointment. They come in. If we're using this language, this messaging, this I see you, I understand you from start of awareness all the way down to the point that we have them on our table, that conversation is going to be so much smoother and easier. And you're going to walk away and be like, wow, that like they just get it. And it's because you helped them get it. Right. And I think that is the beauty in all of this is you don't have to recreate the wheel. Understand your people. You probably already do. Right. If we came to you and we asked you the same question about maybe you serve, kiddos in sports, and it's like, okay, tell me about a 12-year-old soccer player. What's the pain point? Right. Or we work with a husband and wife and he's a nutritionist and he's working with these, high level athletes and, so I think even some Olympic athletes. And it's like, okay, well, tell me the difference between this athlete and like an Olympic level athlete. What are their pain points? Your people. So shift that knowledge and those conversations you're having every day into intentional messaging and scripting in your marketing and in office. And I promise you, you're not going to just have more success, but you're going to be working with people you freaking love.
And they're going to love you.
Yep.
Because they're going to feel seen, feel heard. And they're going to have those aha moments where it's like, oh, I get it. This is the missing piece. So hopefully that was helpful. DM us on Instagram if you have any questions. Again, the PRIME method is problem, reframe, identity, mechanism, and end results. Also, if you want to install the PRIME method with this custom built skill to have Claude actually write these angles and messaging for you, it is available inside of our digital community. Link will be in the show notes. There's a 7-day free trial to come in, poke around, see if it's the right fit for you to help grow your marketing. We have trainings across ads, social, and SEO. And DM us with any questions on Instagram. And we'll see you inside the community and at the next episode. Nope, you won't be there at the next episode. We'll see you inside. We'll see you next time. See you there. I'll see you on another time.
Reminds me of I love you, man.
Yeah, that's what he says. He's like, oh, it's confusing. I don't know if you're actually showing. And he's like, no, I am. I'll be there. Laters on the Menjay.
Laters on the Menjay. Bye, guys.